Okay, so the first thing that we will be doing is we need to create our foundation chain, and to do so we're going to start with a slip knot, but I'm going to leave some yarn hanging, so I will have a long strand like this hanging because we will need to use this to connect our brim before we start the body of the hat. Okay, so I'll leave that about that much off. So the way I do a slip knot is I go like this. Okay, I loop it around my thumb like that, I slip it off, I take my hook, put it in a circle, I yarn over and I pull it and I let go, just like that. Okay, so go ahead and do your slip knot however you usually do it, and then we're going to create a chain of 11. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. Okay, so that's how our chain 11 looks like. We do a chain 11 because this final one here doesn't actually count as a chain. So, and when we work, we're going to be working on the back of the chain like this. So we flip it and you see these bridges that are lumpy in the back. This is what we're going to be going in through, and we're going to hold our yarn like this so we have access to it, and we're going to do single crochets along the chain. So just start with that there. So that's a single crochet, another single crochet, oops, right there, okay. So we have completed the first row, which is the single crochet in the 10 stitches, just like that. And to move on to the next row, we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work so that the back of it is facing us or facing up, depending on how you hold your work. And then in the very first chain or very first stitch right here where my finger is, right here, just right there, we're going to do our single crochet there, but we're going in the back loop only. Okay, so this is going to be, the brim is going to be a single crochet in the back loop project. Okay, so just like that, and then you're going to go ahead and move on to the next stitch, and again just remember to go in the back loop only. Okay, and again you're going to do this across the 10 stitches, and this is something that is probably useful to count. So if you don't have a lot of faith in yourself and you think you may have skipped a stitch or added a stitch, then make sure you count, and you should always have 10. If you have 9 or 8 or 11 or 12, then you need to undo your work and go and fix it. But it's good to count, make a habit of counting as you go, because it's good to realize this mistake before you go too far, and it's gonna be a really bad feeling to have to undo your work if you have gone too far. Okay, so I have one more stitch to go here. Instead of doing the single crochet in the back loop only, we're going to do a single crochet going through both loops like that. Okay, this is something that I'm not sure if all crocheters do, but I do this to keep my work straight like this. Okay, so that's it there for row 2. We're going to go ahead and start our row 3 by doing a chain 1 and turning. And then the same thing we did in row 2, we're going to go in the back of the very first stitch after the chain 1, and we're going to do our single crochet, and then we're going to move on to the next one and do another single crochet in the back loop. So as you can see, let's just count for this row 3 together. So I have done 2 so far, and then I'm going to do, this is the third one, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then my 10th one, I'm going to do the same thing I did in the end of row 2, which is to go through both loops of that final stitch to do my single crochet like that. Okay, so you know I have 10, And so you just keep making sure you have 10 stitches every time you turn around. You can either count as you go, just like we did, or you can finish it like this and then count your stitches. And if you do realize that you have less or more, then you just undo it and fix it. Okay, so this is pretty much what we're going to do to create the brim of the hat. And for my hat, I'm going to do 70 rows total. So we have 3 here, which is 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to do 67 more to make it 70. And when you get there, or when you get to however many you need to have, come back and I will show you how to move on to create the body of the hat. Okay, so I have my 70 rows here, so the brim of our hat is pretty much completed, and that's how we're gonna join it here like this. So we have it like that. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. So now this is where this long strand comes into handy, the one that I had told you guys to leave it hanging long like this. So we're going to first of all figure out what side we're gonna sew it in. So as you can see on this side, the beginning of our work, this side is on the inside, so it's like a valley here, it dips in, and this side is protruding out like this, okay, like that. So I usually try to make sure that that's the where I sew the brim together. So we're going to hold it like this, okay. So when I have it like this, I'm going to take my darning needle and I'm going to put the long strand of yarn, the long tail that we cut and left out. Okay, so I have my yarn and the darning needle like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and hold it. Probably I will start it like this. Okay, so this is where the thread is. I'm going to go at the very beginning here. I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can focus the camera a little bit here. Okay, so we have it lined up, and as you can see, it's nicely lined up like that. Okay, we're going to take our darning needle and we're going to just kind of go in the very first stitch like that. Sorry, this color is a little bit, I didn't realize it was going to be really bright like this, but anyway, so we're going to go through like that and just kind of make that joining like this. And then on this side, we're going to go through both loops like that of the chain. Can you see? We're going to go through both like this. And then on the opposite side, we're going to go through just the outside one. So if you were to go through both, it would look like this as well on that side, but we're not going through both, we're going through just the back loop like that. Okay, and then we're going to pull. Oops, there you go. Just gonna bring this over like that, and then we're going to repeat that again. We're going to go through the next one, which is both, and on the opposite side we're going to grab the one that is the furthest from us, and then we're going to pull like that, and then we pretty much repeat this until we get to the end here. Okay, so we're pretty much joining our brim here so that we have the brim of the hat joined before we can do the rest of it. So go ahead and do this until you get to the very end here, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now when you're all the way at the end here, just make sure you're going to work into the very last stitch here as well. Okay, you're just going to do that. And now what I will do here, this is what you can do. You can weave in your end back into this seam right here just to kind of hide it. So I'm going to just do a few going back this way. I could do one like that. I could do another one right here, just like that. And then I'm probably just gonna end it like this before I cut it off. Okay, and what I'll do here is I'll just kind of make a knot like that, and then I'm going to cut these off here. Okay, put this stuff away. Okay, so there you go, it's nicely joined like that, and we have this working yarn still here attached, and that's where we're gonna start the rest of the hat. So we have it right there, and we're going to chain 1. Okay, and just right on this very next stitch here, we're going to do a single crochet, and then in this next stitch here we're going to do another single crochet. So with this, the way I do it is I do 1 single crochet in this space here, which is looks like a valley. It's like it dips in, and then on top I'm gonna do 1, and then here, and then 1, and then here. So in other words, you do 1 in the valley, you do 1, and on top here you do 1 in the valley, you do 1 on top. So that's how I will go through this and do my single crochets all around. Okay, so I'm just going to show you 1 more here, and then 1 on top of that space, then 1 more here in the valley, and then 1 more here. Okay, so go ahead and do your single crochets all around this. When you get to right here where we started off this single crochet row, come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so I've completed my round here of the single crochet all around the brim here. Okay, so as you can see, I don't know if it's very visible, but like I've done my row around the rim, and now we're going to I did my last one here. Now we're going to connect it to just the last stitch, or the first stitch that we did on this side. We're going to connect it there with a slip stitch. Okay, so we're just gonna work our way through that, and then we're going to do a slip stitch just like that. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1, and so this is what I consider the first row of the hat. So I don't actually count the single crochet that we did around the rim to be a row. I just can see we just did it to establish stitches to be able to work on for these next couple of rows. So after you chain 1 and you turn your work like that, we're going to now start working with half double crochet in the back loop. Okay, so as you see here, again, just like we did with the brim, we're now going to go into this first stitch here. We're going to go to the next stitch next to it to our left, just like that, and we're going to go into the back loop and then yarn over and go through all 3, and then repeat that again. Okay, so this is where we're going to start building our hat here, and this is, I'm considering this the first row that we're doing around the brim. Okay, so we're just doing our half double crochet in the back loop, and we're trying to create the same effect here that we have on the brim, this waviness here, and we're trying to do that with the hat when we build it up. So your hat is going to be like this. We're going to be building up the hat. Right now we're going to be going up like this, and then eventually we will decrease and go inwards, and then we're gonna end our hat. Okay, so go ahead and do this around the brim here, and when you get back to this section right here, which is where we just started the first row, come back and I will show you what to do next. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so I did my half double crochet all around the brim. So as you can see here, this is the first row I just completed. Looks nice. It's very nice and fluffy, and this is really stretchy. This yarn is so soft and it's very stretchy, so if you make it even if it's a little bit smaller in size, you will actually be able to fit it in your head, like fit it on your head. So anyways, it's really nice. So we have completed the first row. As you can see there, I have 1 more stitch to go into here in the back loop, and I wanted to make sure I show you guys that, because if you do skip this final stitch right here, it's going to show. See that there's a stitch right here. It's very small, but there is one. If you skip this, you're going to decrease your work, so you have to make sure you go into that final stitch as well, just like that, and do your half double crochet in the back loop like that. Okay, now that we have done that, we're going to go ahead and join it by doing a slip stitch on top of that first stitch that we created in this row. So we're going to do a slip stitch there, and then you're going to of course do a chain one, turn your work like this. So you can just hold your work like this, okay, and then we're going to continue to do what we just did. So again, don't go into this first stitch here, because again, if you do go into this first stitch here, you start to increase. So every row you're gonna start to have more, and your hat is going to look really, it's gonna go more like this instead of going straight like this for now, and then we're gonna decrease to go inwards like that. So you have to pay attention to that. So make sure you're going to the last stitch, but when you start your next row after you chain one and turn, make sure you're not going into that very first one. Okay, so we're going to go into the second one here and do our half double crochet. And so this row after the single crochet that we did is pretty much a repeat for a number of rows. So I'm starting my second row here of the half double crochet in the back loop, and we're going to do I'm doing 14 of this. So you may do less depending on if you want your hat to have a lot of space, or you may do less if you want your hat to be really fitted, which means it just like fits on your head like a glove. But I do my hats a little bit bigger in case I have extensions on. It will fit okay, and if I don't have extensions on, I can just have my hair inside in a bun and still be able to pull the hat on top of it and still fit. So I usually end up doing this a little bit bigger. So I'm doing 14 rows of this half double crochet back loop in the back loop. Keep in mind again, the single crochet that we did around the brim, I don't count as a row because there was just to establish the stitches for me to be able to do the half double crochet here. So this is what we completed just now, is my first row. This is the second, and I'm going to do 14 total. So go ahead and work this. When you get to the number of rows you want for this, come back to the video and I will show you how to go to the next step. And don't forget to go into this very last stitch here. When you come around, this is the last stitch you must go into, otherwise you will decrease, and then you will slip stitch on top of this stitch here, chain one, turn around, and then when you turn it, don't go into the very first stitch, go into the second stitch. Okay, and if you keep doing that, you will see that your work will just continue to go straight like this until we complete the rows, which for me will be 14 rows of this. And then when that's completed, I will show you how to start to decrease your work. So go ahead and do that and come back and we will go ahead and move on to the next step together. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay guys, so I have gone ahead and done my 14 rows here. So if you're doing the exact same tutorial as I am, then you should be in the same spot. So this is pretty much how your hat should look like now. And just to recap, so we did the brim of the hat here with 70 rows, and then we did one single row of single crochet, which I don't count, and then we did 14 rows of the half double crochet in the back loop. So that is what you should have now. Okay, so to move on to the next step, and this is going to be the reducing step, so that our hat can start to kind of come back inwards. I'm going to show you how to do that, so get ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the final step of my half double crochet in the back loop, and I have one more stitch here to do, so I'm going to go ahead and complete that with you guys, just like that. And then we're going to connect it to this stitch here by doing a slip stitch. So just like that, and then slip stitch. Okay, so this is how it should be completed. And then to start our reducing row, we're going to chain one, turn our work like we have been doing for each row. Okay, and then when you have your work turned like this, you're going to do 4 half double crochet in the back loop, just like we have done the previous rows here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, and then for the next two we're going to do reduction of half double crochet. So this is how we do a reduction. So we yarn over, go into the back loop, pull it back just like you're going to do like a double crochet or half double crochet, but instead of moving from that step, you're going to move ahead and into the next stitch. You're going to go into it, yarn over, bring the yarn back, and you should have 4 loops on the hook like that, and then you yarn over, pull through all 4. Okay, and then we're going to do a second one. So yarn over, go into the back loop just like you're doing a half double crochet or a double crochet, but instead of yarning and pulling it through, you're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, bring it in. You will have 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through all 4. Okay, so we just reduced here, and then we're going to repeat that pretty much all around, but for the next 4 we're going to do the regular half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, and keep in mind you're working in the back loop the whole time, so you're not, you're not going anywhere else but the back loop. And then in the next 2 we're going to do reduction. So just like that, yarn over, go through all 4, then go on to the next one. So that's 2 reduction stitches here. Okay, and then we're going to move on and do 4 regular half double crochets in the back loop, of course. So 2, 3 and 4, and in the next 2 stitches we're going to do reduction. So that's how you reduce. Just like that. Okay, so go ahead and repeat these all around the hat. When you get back to this spot here, come back, however many you have left here, come back, because it doesn't matter if it actually matches up all the way here or not. Most likely will not, because we haven't counted the stitches to have a certain number to do so. So just go ahead and come as far as you can close to the beginning here, and then come and join back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so I've gone all around the hat, so now I have 2 stitches left. So just so you can see, what I did was, this is my last reduction here. So these two stitches here are reductions, and then I did my 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches of regular half double crochet in the back loop, and I have 2 stitches left. So what I will do here, I will just go ahead and do the normal reduction. Even though it's only 1, you just go ahead and move on to what you're supposed to do next, like that. Okay, now if you were to go around and you had like your last reduction here, let's say these 2 stitches were your reduction and you had 1 stitch without a reduction, then you just do a half double crochet in the back loop in that stitch, and then you just move on. Okay, so it's not very important that you have it matching exactly the same. Okay, now that I have done my last reduction stitch here, I'm going to go ahead and connect my work to this side. So just going in the last stitch through both loops like that, pulling it back and doing a slip stitch like that. Okay, and just so we can see, let's just look at it right now. So as you can see, it doesn't look like there's not much that have changed, but when you do a few more rows, you will start to see this building inwards. Okay, so we have done the attaching it here. We're going to chain 1, turn our work again this way so we can work backwards, and then you're going to just do the same thing we did in the previous row. So yarn over, do your half double crochet, 1, 2, again you're working in the back loop only, 3 and 4, and then in the next 2 stitches you're reducing. So you're going to do a reduction stitch. So that's 1 and 2. Okay, so you just did 4 half double crochet in the back loop, and then you did 2 reduction stitches in the back loop. Okay, and like I said, you're going to do that until your work is fully coming towards the closure on top, and when you get there, come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay guys, so I have completed about 5 rows of the reduction rows here. So as you can see, this is how our hat looks like. Okay, so I have a little bit of it to close up here, and then we will be able to put our pom-pom on. So I have done 4 rows of the half double crochet in the back loop here. So you see 1 2 3 4, and then these 2 rows right here, I'm going to do a reduction row or reduction stitch, just like that. And then in this final one, I'm just going to do a regular half double crochet in the back loop like that. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and join it right there, just like we've been doing with all the rows, just like that. So as you can see, this is the size of the closure that I have left to go. So I'm going to chain 1, and for this next row here, we're going to do reduction pretty much all around it. So we're not doing the half double crochet for 4 times and then 2 times of the reduction. We're doing reduction all around it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that started here. So that's the first reduction, and second, and then you just pretty much do this all the way to the end. So as you can see, it's pretty much done. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors, and then we're going to cut the yarn, but we're going to leave it hanging long like this, so we can use a darning needle. Okay, just like that. We're going to take our darning needle. I have this thing, which is a thread thingy, to be able to put that easy, but what I'll do first is I'll just try to see if I can do it with my hand. Oh, and it did work. Yay! So we don't have to use this, but I've found this really helpful to use when I find it difficult to try and put the thread in the hole here, but that worked. Okay, so we'll take that off first. I actually worked a little bit prematurely there. Okay, so we're going to do a slip knot here and just kind of close that off like that, and then we're going to put this yarn in there just like that, and then now we're going to just kind of weave it in the top here using our darning needle. Okay, so we're just going to make the top here disappear completely, and also just kind of flatten the top a little bit too. So as you can see, I'm just kind of, there's no technique to it per se. I'm just kind of grabbing the yarn from across, pulling it through, going from this direction that way, pulling it through. So again, you just want to close this gap up here, so you're not really using any particular technique except to just make sure you're weaving it in close enough that you don't have a gap on top. Okay, and also you want to make it a little bit flat because you don't want the top to be pointy here. So as you can see, I'm just kind of doing something like this. Okay, oops. And you can go from a different direction, just like that. We can go from this direction, just like that, and I believe that's enough. That's enough. You see here, it's just nice and closed. Okay, we could probably do a little bit here. There's a little bit of a gap, so we could just kind of do something like this. It brings that in, and we can go back this way. So you just kind of gauge and see, you know, that you're making your closure here fully shut and looking nice. And now that that's the last, I'm just going to do one of these things here, close it up, and then we're going to knot it up there, just like that. I'm going to leave these on for now, but let's just look at our hat here. So this is how our hat looks like. Okay, this is a very nice and it's very stretchy. So like I said, if you want to have your hair up in a bun, and it's still going to cover most of your head, because the one thing I hate is having a hat that I can only wear when my hair is down, because sometimes you just don't want to pull your hair down. You want to have it all nice in a bun, and this is pretty much how it looks like so far. Okay, and so we have one more step. So I made my pompon already. This is my pompon here for the hat, and I did it off camera. I used this size of a pompon maker. Okay, now I have a video on my channel that shows you how to use these pompon makers to make your pompons just like this. So if you want to make your pompon now, you can pause the video, go ahead and make it, and then come back and install it with me. Okay, but when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take my crochet hook. I'm going to go into the hat like this. Actually, let me just show you one step. You have an option to just use your hat from the side without a pompon. So if that's the case, you just cut this yarn off here and your hat is good to go. The other option is obviously putting a pompon, which I am. And the other option is you can wear it with this side being the outside of your hat, or you can flip it like this, which I tend to do this a lot, because the side that you work with, for me, the side that I work with, usually if there's any knots that I have to tie, like for example this is a knot that I had to tie on this side to weave in my closure here where we shut down, where we connected the brim. So I have this hanging here. So what I would do typically is I flip it inside out like this, and this becomes the outside of my hat. So that's what we're going to do in this case, is we're going to flip it like this, and then we're going to be able to put the pompon on. So you go ahead and you put your crochet hook into the inside of the hat. You just place your, so as you can see, this is the actual top here. I'm placing it just a couple of inches, like about an inch to the right. Okay, and I do that for a reason, because you don't want the bolt to just be hanging here. It will make your pompon kind of flip-flop and it doesn't really sit properly on top. So I just kind of put it on the side like that, and I take a yarn, my yarn from one of the pompons. So as you can see, when you make your pompon makers, you have to leave the long strands like this, and you will see that on video if you go ahead and watch my video on how to make pompons. And then we're going to pull this through. Okay, as you can see, I have that over here. And then I'm going to go back in there, and on the other side of that, okay, as you can see, again, this is the very top of my pompon. I'm just a few inches to the left, and I'll do the same, pull it through, and that's my second string. So I have both of them here, and I'm going to pull it and just kind of hold it like this and make sure it's actually on top. And when I know that it is, I'm going to flip it over like this, and I'm going to just pretty much tie it like that. So I'm just going to knot this and make sure it's nice and tight. Do it more than once. I usually do between 3 and 4, depending on the thickness of the yarn, I guess, too. Just like that. And then if you see, this is the other one that we had sewed the top shut with, and I said just to leave it like that, and the reason being is we just need another enforcer on this side, so we're going to knot it with that as well. And you're going to do it a couple of more times with that. It just kind of gives you that extra security with your hat. Okay, and now that you have that, you go ahead, you take your scissors, and you just cut all these 3 strands off like that. Make sure you don't cut it too close to where you knotted it, because there's a possibility it could come off, and you don't want it to come off and the pompon falls off. So you cut it with just a few strands hanging like that. Okay, so that's it. Now with your pompon, sometimes just after playing with it for a little bit, you will see some strands that just kind of drop from nowhere like this, that is longer. You just go ahead and snip that off. Okay, and then you flip it to this side. So you can see here, there's one just kind of hanging longer here than all of them. Look at that right there. So we're going to go ahead and chop that off. Okay, there you go. And that's pretty much it, you guys. So this is how your hat looks like. It's nice and done. There's a pompon up there. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed making this with me. I will just quickly show you the other ones that I made as well. So this is another one that I made, exact same thing, exact same number of rows, nothing different. It's just 3 different hats in 3 different colors. And this is the other one. Okay, so as you can see, these are all the 3 colors I made right here. And that's pretty much it. So these are the 3 hats. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It's very simple to do, and this is like, if you really just sit down for 3 hours, probably even less, you have a hat and you'll be able to go outside in the winter with a nice crocheted hat like this. Okay, so go ahead and make some for your friends and family. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell, because if you actually subscribe and don't hit the notification bell, you don't get notifications the when I post. So you make sure you do that as well. And I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, ciao ciao.